You're feeling burnt out. The admin tasks are wearing you out. You're chasing down documents with your clients all the time. You're replying to clients at midnight. You're just doing all the things manually in your practice. And many people think in order to get out of this problem, this chaos, this stress, I have to hire. And I'm here to tell you that yes, you do need to hire, but it's not the hire that you think you need. I'm here to tell you that you need to hire your next workflow. Because so many small practice owners think that they see these other practice owners who are cruising along, they're scaling, they're growing, they're working, and they're saying they're only working 40, 50 hours a week. If we haven't had the chance to meet yet, I'm Jamie Gruel, and after helping over 500 tax and accounting practices implement automation with TaxDome, I can confidently say that automation is the only way to increase your profit and time freedom in your practice. But you yourself as a small practice owner, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to be working 40 hours a week. I want to be working 35 hours a week, but I don't see how I can scale and do life in a less stressed way. I want to be more peaceful. I want to be more I want to enjoy life again. And so a lot of people, when they start their practices, and I'm going to share my co-founder, Jessica Smith, she's an enrolled agent, and she started her business in 2020 when she was let go from the firm that she was at. And when she left that firm and she established that she didn't actually want to find another job, she wanted to build something for herself. She knew that she wanted to grow quick. And she had been side hustling for a while. She had a side gig doing taxes for people. And so when she decided that she was going to go all in on this business idea so that she could stay home with her kiddos, so that she could have more flexibility in her life, so that she could run a business the way that she wanted to run the business, she knew that she was going to have to grow fast. And she knew that she couldn't do that without systems because Jessica came from the corporate environment. Jessica came from the firm that had no systems. She was trying to help them implement them. She was trying to help them make sure that things were done in a standard way so that the team wasn't always running around like a bunch of chickens with their heads cut off, trying to find their client documents, trying to find the details and the information that they needed to be able to perform their jobs effectively and efficiently. And so she was trying to help them do that, but there was a lot of resistance from the people at the top. And so that left Jessica pushing against the stream, right? She was always trying to swim upstream and it exhausted her. So when she started her own business, she knew she was going to do it right from the beginning. She knew that was going to happen with technology, with systems, and with workflows. And so that was Jessica's first hire. Now, fast forward a few months, Jessica grew very quickly. It was during the pandemic when, if you were in the industry in the pandemic, everything exploded. Life was shifting. Firms were having to go virtual, which meant that people now had opportunities. There was a lot of money flooding into small businesses, and small businesses needed to have clean books. Small businesses needed to have their returns caught up so that they could take advantage of the programs that were out there. And so Jessica grew very fast. And Jessica was able to maintain her sanity for the most part by leveraging the systems that she had built for herself. And so today I want to talk with you about how you need to be shifting the way you're thinking about scaling and growing your business. It is not done through humans. The first and most important step that you need to take, whether you have team members today or not, is to get your systems in place so that you can scale smartly. Now, that is not necessarily like perfect language there, but that is what we want for you, because when you try and bring team members in to your business, when you don't have systems, you end up just doing a lot of the work and having these people either being micromanaged because you need to get them the things that they need to work on, or you're not fully leveraging and taking advantage of them and their skill set. And in today's environment, there's a lot of people out there that are skilled, but they're also very expensive. So as a solo practice, as someone with a small practice, you don't necessarily want to take on that overhead and reduce your profit, because that means you're taking home less money for you, for your family, for the future that you're trying to build through this business. And let me tell you, as someone who is a small business owner too, it sucks to not take any money home. It sucks to be working hard and making money and not seeing it benefit your family, not seeing it benefit your dreams, not seeing it benefit your life, because your profit has shrunk and shrunk because of the overhead that you have developed by hiring on team when it was not the right time. And so I want you to start thinking about how you can leverage technology, leverage systems to make your next hires effective and efficient. So today I want to break down with 4 pieces of practical advice and give you some ideas on how you can do this. And I'm going to share it through the lens of automating your small practice with TaxDome. Now, we are TaxDome experts. We know and love the system so intimately because we have spent tens of thousands of hours with it. We have helped over 1,000 practices implement it. Jessica has used it in her practice since 2020, and it has transformed the way in which she's able to operate. And Jessica is one example of that 1,000 that we have that have transformed the way they work. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about those people that have really been able to scale in an efficient way, scale with peace, scale with excitement about life and about their business, because I think it's important for you to have examples of that. So the first thing I want to talk about, I'm going to share my screen here. Pull up the right screen and go to Zoom. So the first thing I want you to think about is templates. Everything in your practice, if you have done it 2 times or more, needs to be templated, because we spend so much time manually replying to an email. We're like, oh, it just takes a minute or 2. But if you're saying the same thing over and over again in almost the near exact same fashion, you are spending your precious time on things that don't necessarily get you any freedom, benefit, and it is unnecessary. So one of the rules of the efficient workplace is to template anything that you are doing more than twice. So in TaxDome, we love templates because the value of that is that 1, we can automate them going out. 2, we always have them available to us to be able to customize and send on the fly if we need them. And it's all centralized in one place. Because I don't know about you guys, but one of the biggest challenges I have in growing my business, and I know I talk to a lot of other business owners, is that you can go and create these templates all day, but if they're not in a centralized place that allows you to quickly and effectively communicate with your clients, you're spending, again, a lot of time hunting down that template that you know you created 3 months ago, and it's out there somewhere. But where did you put it in your Google Drive? That's the real question, right? And so you have to have a system in order to be able to maintain those templates. And so in TaxDome, the nice thing is that when we're creating templates that, as I mentioned, we can use in automations or we can send manually, we're creating them all in one place. And we have ability to send them to any of our clients, any of our contacts within our TaxDome system, right at our fingertips. And it's as simple as going to the new button and then selecting the item that you want to send. Now you can see there is a long list of available features in the TaxDome system, and many, if not most of these, have templates available to them. And it's all in how you leverage the tool that can get you back more and more time, allowing you to communicate effectively with your clients and efficiently with your clients. Now, the other thing that I want you to think about when it comes to systems is that you need to be thinking about how can I assign work to technology or my virtual assistant in my TaxDome system first. Because a lot of us will, again, the whole idea of it just takes a minute to do this and it just takes a minute to do that. And when we assign that work out to a team member or to ourselves as solo practitioners, 1 minute here and 1 minute there, and you multiply that across 200 clients times 3 or 4 per tax practice or tax return engagement, for example, that is 3 or 4 times 200 is 1,200 minutes. That is a lot of minutes. That's what, 20 hours? So what would you do with that 20 hours, working hours, if you had that back? Just by eliminating that 1 minute task of typing out that response, sending that thing manually, following up on those documents manually. Where can we think about the systems, the workflows, the automations being our next best hire and being able to delegate as much of the work to that system automatically and allow that system to support us? Because that is where you start pulling back a lot of time. That is where you start seeing that you're able to take the weekends off. That's where you start seeing that, wow, I don't have to work the evenings anymore. That in accompaniment with other operational shifts and new ways of thinking about service delivery, that is where you're going to see massive shifts in your ability to create a life that you love that is supported by a business you love. The third strategy I want to talk about is starting with internal automations. As I mentioned, a lot of people spend a lot of time chasing down documents, reminding clients about invoices, sending out the where's my return at communications and responses all day long, or replying to telephone messages, or any of those things where the client is seeking out information. There is something broken in your process internally that you could deal with or fix with automation. Now, I'm going to show you our tax prep pipeline here because I want to talk about that a little bit. When we're talking about document return or documents being completed, when we're talking about clients asking the same repetitive questions over and over again, where's my return? Do you have what you need? Where are we at in my process? Those can all be things that you can automate internally so that you are not having to deal with that. We actually had a client I was talking to, her name is Samantha, and she and her daughter-in-law have been building the business over the last couple of years. And she's looking at retiring, Samantha is, and her daughter-in-law is going to step in. They implemented our systems and workflows for tax pros in their TaxDome system this year. Previous year, they'd used TaxDome, and it was helpful, but it was just a glorified portal because they were sending out organizers, they were sending out the engagement letters, but they weren't leveraging the automations in the system. And so what they were able to do with our systems, where we helped them to automate those internal steps, they were able to better communicate proactively with their clients. They were able to implement reminders, automated reminders using TaxDome, and they were able to make sure that they were communicating to their client the importance of each and every step through automated communications. And so I wanted to break that down for you just a little bit so you can have some context, because I know I like to see, someone said, show me the baby the other day. I was like, okay, here we go. Let's show you the baby. So here's the baby. This is our signature tax prep pipeline. And the power of this pipeline is, one, that we are leveraging the automations of TaxDome to the full effect, meaning that investment that you made into the tool of TaxDome has now been amplified for years to come by the system of workflows for tax pros and the methods that we have in place. And the methods that we have in place and why we're different is, number one, we take a client-first approach, because you need to be communicating to your clients in a way that has them having success at every step along the way, reducing the number of inbound questions, reducing the number of where am I at, reducing the number of what do you need next, because we're answering those questions proactively. And if we start seeing a place where we're not doing that, we can always shift and change our templates and change the way in which we're sending out those automations. And so client-first approach is number one. Number two is that we want you and your team in your small practice to be able to come to work every day and know exactly what your priority is. Now that shifts week by week during the year, right? During tax season, when it's kickoff season, you just want to get as many clients as you can to the point where you can start reviewing documents. That means they need to go through your onboarding process. So when you come to work each day in, say, early February, your first step is to go in and review the documents that are ready to review, meaning the client has submitted their organizer, which means they've also signed their engagement letter, paid their minimum fee deposit, signed their client communications agreement, and said, yes, I do want to work with you. Because through automation, we can make sure all of those steps are happening automatically. Her clients like to liken it to the horse races, where they add all the horses to the start line, they had to go, and everyone starts moving ahead at their own speed because of the ability to use the automations. And so they start breaking out, and you have your early submitters that are breaking out at the beginning. And so when you come to work in that early February timeline, you know that you need to go and look at your ready to reviews, start seeing where it's missing documents, start making sure that you have what you need to complete the return. So then we can move into the return preparation process. Now, let's say it's April 15th, for example. We now are able to see, thanks to our TaxDome pipelines, exactly where all of our clients are at. And if somebody needs to go on an extension, because there's no way we're going to get their stuff done by the April 15th deadline. So we can start actually executing on extensions like we have for Phoebe Carpenter here, because we know exactly where that client is at in our process. And one thing that's different about the way that we like to think about pipelines is that we don't try and make as few pipelines as possible, where it's onboard, draft the return, offboard. No, we want to have more pipelines, more stages, because one, we can communicate or control that client communication. And two, we know exactly where everybody is at in the process. So we don't have to guess, did they complete the organizer, or did they sign the invoice or pay the invoice? Or did they not do one of those steps and they get hung up we're more able to see exactly where a client is at. So that's really important. The third thing that I want to call out that is really important is that when you are able to see exactly where the work is to be done, you are less likely to have to micromanage your team members. We can have policies and executions based on exactly how long a client has been in a certain stage. So let's say, for example, I used our return reveal process and I sent out a beautiful Loom review to my client so that they knew exactly what was happening in their return. And they got the link, but they haven't actually told us that they approve us to move forward. And they've been there for more than, say, 10 days. I can follow up with that client and say, hey, Toby, hey, Leah, we see that you got the link, but you haven't watched it yet. Can you follow up with us on that? Can you watch it? Let us know that we're good to move forward, because we won't move forward until you approve it, meaning we can't send you the 8879s to sign. And that allows us to put those boundaries in place where we're requiring an approval from our client before we actually send them the 8879. So these are all the things that we can build into these awesome pipelines and these awesome automations that allow us to automate the internal actions that we need to be doing in our business, that we want to be doing in our business, but that we haven't had the systems, the structure, or the strategy to do in the past. And that brings me to strategy number 4, systems equal leadership. Systems are no longer a nice to have. They absolutely are no longer a nice to have. We have had a lot of early adopters in these last 3 or 4 years that have gone over to automated workflows, and they're seeing massive successes. They're seeing ability to grow. They're seeing ability to increase client capacity without working more hours. They're able to hire on team members and delegate more effectively. And those are all really important things. But you need to be thinking about, how am I leading my practice? Whether I'm a solo practitioner or I have a small team, am I able to grow my practice consistently and calmly? And systems are that power struggle, or that power button in leadership, because it allows you to get all of that stuff out of your head that you've been carrying around for the last 5 years as you've been building your business, that you've been carrying around for the last 15 years as you've been building your business. And it allows you to get it out and into a system so that you can actually start having space to think, did hire an ad? What if I did bring somebody on who was not a highly skilled professional to do the returns, but I have hired somebody in to act as my customer service agent or my admin role, where they could help me with making sure that all of those policies and the follow-ups that I wish I was doing are happening. That I was able to ensure that my documents, when they come in, are being reviewed effectively and preparing me some work paper so that I can draft the returns and I can do the service delivery more effectively, and allow me to focus on the money-making aspect of my business, or the money-making work of my business. And that is where you can actually start leading your business more effectively. You can start stepping into that role as the CEO and not continue in the chaos and the stress and the just getting it done that you might possibly be seeing yourself stuck in. So I wanted to share a couple stories with you of people that have implemented our system, because I did say that I would do that today. The first one is when I shared with you Samantha's story. And I also talked recently with our client, Dorina. And Dorina is a busy mom. She has several children. She is running her business. She worked in the corporate industry for a long time in a tax firm, and then decided that when she had children, she was ready to step away from the long hours and the busyness of the corporate world, and wanted to start a business where she would only work 20 hours a week. And so she stepped into that, and she has built a very efficient, very niche boutique business for herself in the last couple of years. And her children are very young, so that was all the time that she had available. And she knew that if she wanted to be effective in those few hours a week that she was working, she needed to have a system to support her in that. And so last year she got TaxDome. She didn't actually use it to its full effect. And this year she got Workflows for Tax Pros and our systems. And she said this year it was night and day in the stress that she felt during tax season, because she was able to step away after her 20 hours were up and her children, her time as a mom was back online. And she was able to step away knowing that her clients, thanks to the automations and thanks to the communications that she was able to structure within the automated workflow, were communicating with her clients about what she needed next from them. And they were always able to see at every step along the way the exact status that they had, thanks to the client-facing statuses that TaxDome has. So she could go to sleep at night not panicking about where things were at, wake up the next morning, have her few working hours, and step right in exactly at the stage in the process where she was going to be most effective that day, the most needle moving position or the most needle moving action that she could take in the short time that she had to keep things moving along. And so she was celebrating with me this year that she feels so much better, and it gave her the space to actually think about what kind of business she wants to grow, because her children are getting a little bit older now, and she's heading back into the point where she's going to have a little bit more time. And so how and what does that look like for her? And she said she wasn't expecting to actually have the space and capacity to actually think about how she can further scale her business and make it more of what she's always dreamed of. And systems allowed her to do that. And she didn't have to hire to do that. So now she can get her systems in place, start thinking about, do I want to hire? And if she does, plug that person in right where they can help support her, and make sure that it's offloading, again, the administrative work and the efforts that she's having to pour in, allowing her to focus solely on the service delivery and the marketing of her business. And I'm betting that is something that you want for your business too. Because right now you're probably feeling like your brain is overloaded, that you need to work harder, but you don't need to work harder. I want you to believe that you are able to build a business that you love, that supports a life that you love, thanks to systems and strategy and structure. And in Workflows for Tax Pros, we give you those systems so you don't have to figure it all out by yourself, because we have helped over 1,000 practices. So if you're looking for greater support, we would love to help you do that. One of our clients, Noemi, who runs a very successful bookkeeping and accounting practice, has been able to get back so much time that now her daughter, who has started doing competition-based cheer, she's been able to take the weekends off, even during tax season, to go with her daughter to these cheer competitions and be able to be at her practices in the evenings. And it's all thanks to the systems that she built out. So if you want to see and learn about the strategies that we taught Noemi in Workflows for Tax Pros guides, and how you can create workflows and systems that will allow you to get back at least 10 hours a week, but oftentimes much more than that, and a whole lot more peace of mind.